includes the procedure for registration, restriction of registration of cooperatives within the same common bond, and limitation on names of cooperatives, Honorable Speaker. It also provides for the registration of cooperative and its bylaws and a certificate of registration as evidence of registration, Honorable Speaker. This very particular part 4, provides for the requirement to display a cooperative certificate of registration and change of name or loss of the certificate, Honorable Speaker. It further makes provision for the deeming of a cooperative as a body, corporate, and prohibition against dual registration as well as amendment of bylaws. Provides for the binding effects of the bylaws of a particular of a cooperative and for appeals against refusal to register. This Part 4, Honorable Speaker, further provides for the presumption of the signature by the Commissioner, the protection of cooperative identity, and for the protection and restriction on the use of the name SACCO. It also provides for the mandatory uses of names in certain cooperatives. Part 5, Honorable Speaker, has clause 44, starts from clause 44 to clause 51, Honorable Speaker. It provides for the rights and liabilities of members, Honorable Speaker. This includes qualification for membership, who qualifies to be a member, limitation of holding share capital, exercise of members' rights, limitation of membership to producer cooperatives, voting rights of members, transfer of shares, rights of members, and the obligation of a member, Honorable Speaker. Part 6, Honorable Speaker, comprises or starts from clause 52 to 56 of the bill, and it provides for the duties of cooperatives. It requires that every cooperative to have a registered address in Kenya and to also keep a copy of the Act and the bylaws at its registered office, Honorable Speaker. It also provides for estimates of income expenditure, accounts and audits, and production of books and other documents by the cooperatives, Honorable Speaker. Part 7, Honorable Speaker, starts or has with Part 7 of the bill, Honorable Speaker, which starts from clause 57 to 66, provides for governance of cooperatives, Honorable Speaker. It includes provisions on general meetings, special general meetings, presiding at general meetings, the use of physical or virtual or hybrid general meetings, and the delegate system of representation. This very part, Honorable Speaker, also provides for membership and powers of the board, eligibility for the creation of a supervisory board, and its duties, as well as the nomination committee, Honorable Speaker. Part 8, Honorable Speaker, which starts from clause 67 to 68 of the bill, provides for the amalgamation and division of cooperatives. This part outlines the procedures for the amalgamation, generally, and the division of cooperatives, Honorable Speaker. Part 9 of this bill, Honorable Speaker, starts from clause 69 to 80, Honorable Speaker, of the bill. And what it does, Honorable Speaker, it provides for the rights and obligations of the cooperatives, Honorable Speaker, and permits a cooperative to enter into a charge of a member's produce and to fine a member for violation of bylaws. It also provides for first charge over debts and assets of a member and the first charge over member shares. This is usually a very important clause, Honorable Speaker, because it provides for the first charge over debts and assets of a member and first charge over member shares. It also makes provision for an employer's failure to remit the sum deducted from an employee. Honorable Speaker, it also provides for prohibition against attachment of member shares, the rights of withdrawing from membership, and the liability of past and deceased members, Honorable Speaker. It further provides for the transfer of shares or interest of deceased members and the evidence of members' interest in cooperatives and restriction of cooperation on production of cooperative books, Honorable Speaker. Part 10 of this particular bill, Honorable Speaker, starts from clause 81 to 89 of the bill, and it provides for property and funds of cooperatives, Honorable Speaker. It provides for how the property and the funds of our cooperatives are to be applied. It also provides for the restriction on giving loans and borrowing, as well as an investment of our cooperatives' funds, Honorable Speaker. This particular part, Honorable Speaker, makes provision declaration and payment of bonuses, the maintenance of a reserve fund, and the distribution of net balance. And it also provides for investment in non-core activities and investment in companies, Honorable Speaker. Part 11 of this particular bill, Honorable Speaker, starts from clause 90 to 98. Clause 90 to 98 of the bill, and it provides for changes by cooperatives. Charges by cooperatives. It provides for the creation of charges over cooperative property, compliance of charges with applicable law, the registration of charges by the commissioner, and for the register of charges. It also makes provision for the issuance of satisfaction of charges and for the requirement for the receiver to give notice of appointment to the commissioner, Honorable Speaker. It further makes a provision for the requirement of a cooperative to keep a copy of instruments of charge at registered office and for the register of particulars of charges, Honorable Speaker. It further provides for the right of members and creditors to inspect the register of charges. Part 12, Honorable Speaker, of this bill starts from clause 99 to clause 105. 99 to 105, Honorable Speaker. Remember, we said that, clause 99 to 105, sorry, of the bill. It provides, Honorable Speaker, this particular part provides for inquiry, inspection, and surcharges. Honorable Speaker. It provides for, this bill, Honorable Speaker, further provides for the power to surcharge officers of a cooperative, appeal against a surcharge order, and the recovery of a surcharge, Honorable Speaker. It further provides for the inspection of books of an indebted cooperative, the expenses of, I hope we are safe, Honorable Speaker. I hope I am safe. I don't know whether.
Yeah, you're safe. So far, so good. You're safe. Don't worry. Don't worry about the third and whatever fell in there.
Yeah, I thought.
It's not anything that should worry you.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
Yeah.
So this particular part 12, Honorable Speaker, further provides for the inspection of books of an indebted cooperative, the expenses of inquiry and inspection and routine inspection, Honorable Speaker. Part 13, Honorable Speaker, starts from clause 106 to 117, Honorable Speaker. And it provides for the dissolution of cooperatives. This includes the procedure for dissolution, the cancellation of registration, effects of cancellation, and it makes provision for the liquidation of a cooperative society, of a cooperative whose registration is cancelled, Honorable Speaker. It also makes provision for the appointment of a liquidator in case of such matters arising, and the qualification of a liquidator, the powers of a liquidator, and the making of a liquidation account of cooperatives, Honorable Speaker. It sets out the powers of the commissioner during liquidation. It further, Honorable Speaker, provides for appeals against an order of the liquidator or commissioner, enforcement of orders, and outlines offenses relating to liquidation of a cooperative, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, Part 14 of the bill, Part 14 of the bill, remember I had, Part 14 starts from clause 118 to 123. As I said earlier, the bill has 168 clauses. So Part 14 has clause 118 to 123, and it provides for special powers of the cooperative tribunal to set aside certain transactions. It provides for the power of the cooperative tribunal to set aside transactions that are undervalued, the power to void preference, and provides the meaning of the term relevance, and the meaning of the term relevant time used in clause 118 and 119 of the bill. It also makes further provisions for orders under clause 118 and 119, ancillary provisions, Honorable Speaker. It further provides for the power of the cooperative tribunal to set aside certain extortionate transactions and outline the circumstances in which a floating charge on a cooperative undertaking or property may be invalid, Honorable Speaker. Part 15 of this bill, Honorable Speaker, provides for starts from clause 124 to 146 of the 168 clauses. And this particular part, Honorable Speaker, provides for settlement of disputes. It establishes the cooperative tribunal and provides for the appointment of its members, Honorable Speaker. It also sets out the remuneration and term of office for members of the tribunal, of cooperative tribunal, and further for the gazettement of members of the tribunal when a vacancy in the office of the tribunal may arise, Honorable Speaker. It further provides for the jurisdiction of the tribunal, registries, sittings, and proceedings of the tribunal, Honorable Speaker. And it further provides for orders by the tribunal and general offenses at the tribunal, and grants the tribunal unlimited geographical and pecuniary jurisdiction, unlimited geographical and pecuniary jurisdiction in matters cooperative dispute, Honorable Speaker. It provides for the quorum, Honorable Speaker, and benches of the tribunal, conflict of interest, and voting at the tribunal, Honorable Speaker. It further provides that the powers of the chairperson may be exercised by the vice chairperson and for the appeals to the High Court from the tribunal, Honorable Speaker. This part also, Honorable Speaker, provides for the chairperson's power to appoint a cooperative assessor at the tribunal and for the contempt of the tribunal. It further provides for the appointment of the deputy registrar of the tribunal and the rights or the right of parties before the tribunal, Honorable Speaker. And finally, on this particular part, Honorable Speaker, it provides for the immunity of officers of the tribunal and for the alternative dispute mechanism at the tribunal, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, Part 16 starts from clause 147 to 162 of the bill and contains general provisions. And this further, of course, provides for procurement and disposal in cooperatives, enforcement of ethics and integrity in cooperatives, cooperative self-regulation, credit information sharing, intercooperative borrowing, cooperative capital raising instruments, remuneration to officers and members of a cooperative, Honorable Speaker. This particular part, Honorable Speaker, further establishes the cooperative, it further establishes the Cooperative Development Fund and delegates to the Cabinet Secretary, Honorable Speaker, the power to make regulations, Honorable Speaker. This particular bill or this particular part, Honorable Speaker, further provides for the powers of the Cabinet Secretary and the County Executive Committee member, other powers of the Commissioner, and the powers of the County Director for Cooperatives, Honorable Speaker. It further outlines the offenses, then provides for the distinction of cooperatives from trade unions, and sets out a general penalty for offenses, Honorable Speaker. The final part of this bill, Honorable Speaker, is Part 17, Honorable Speaker, which starts from clauses 163 to 168, Honorable Speaker, of the bill, and it provides for transitional provisions. It proposes the repeal of the Cooperative Societies Act, which is number 12 of 1997, and the amendment of the Public Officer Ethics Regulation of 2003, number 6 of 2003, Honorable Speaker. It also provides for transition to the office of the Commissioner and County Director for Cooperatives and the enactment of County Assembly legislation, Honorable Speaker. It provides for the transition of the members of and proceeding before the Cooperative Tribunal, as well as the transition of notices, the orders, directions, and appointments, Honorable Speaker. And then finally, Honorable Speaker, we get to the schedule. The schedule, Honorable Speaker, the first schedule outlines the procedure of liquidation of cooperatives under Clause 109. The second schedule, Honorable Speaker, outlines the preferential debts in relation to the payment of debts for a cooperative under liquidation. While the very final one, Honorable Speaker, the third schedule, outlines offenses relating to conduct before and during liquidation and criminal proceedings relating to other offenses under Clause 117, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, it's important for honorable members to know the aims and purpose of this bill. After highlighting what the entire bill provides for, Honorable Speaker, it's important for members to know that the very first part of the bill aims to update Kenya's cooperative sector, which is introduction, framework, aligning it with modern socio-economic and governance structure as envisioned by the Constitution, Honorable Speaker. By doing so, it intends to further socio-economic development within a developed system, Honorable Speaker. The core objective of the bill, Honorable Speaker, seeks to propose the establishment of both the national level commissioner for cooperative development and the county level, Honorable Speaker, of county directors for cooperatives, Honorable Speaker, with each office promoting intergovernmental cooperative relations, Honorable Speaker. And the legal consistency, Honorable Speaker, of this particular bill is rooted in Article 186 of the Constitution and is part of the broader national cooperative policy. Its intent, Honorable Speaker, is to harmonize cooperative governance across counties and also ensures uniform standards while respecting devolution, Honorable Speaker. There are key committee observations that arose during the formation of this bill, Honorable Speaker. Clarity on cooperative structure. That is one. The bill introduces a tied structure for cooperatives, or a tier structure of cooperatives, Honorable Speaker, which has now primary, secondary, federation, and an apex cooperative, Honorable Speaker, to streamline the operations and represent members of interests effectively at different levels, Honorable Speaker. The question of alignment with devolution also arose from the committees of observation, Honorable Speaker, and it emphasizes on cooperatives or cooperation between the national and county governments, which aligns and it makes sure that it aligns with devolved governance structures or governance principles, empowering counties to participate in cooperative oversight and support, Honorable Speaker. It also, the observation also, Honorable Speaker, was on the enhanced governance and financial management, where the bill seeks to address governance challenges such as transparency, accountability, which also include the establishment of supervisory boards and nomination committees in cooperatives, Honorable Speaker. Now, The fourth point, Honorable Speaker, that it should be very keen is addressing sectorial challenges or sectoral challenges, Honorable Speaker. Governance and financial resilience. The bill aims to improve the cooperative governance by embedding principles of transparency and strong financial oversight, thereby protecting members' investment, Honorable Speaker. Market access and capacity building is also another point, Honorable Speaker. And through clear operational structures, cooperatives, Honorable Speaker, will better access markets and resources. Enhanced training for cooperative members and leaders is also prioritized to elevate sector standards, Honorable Speaker. The fifth very vital point, Honorable Speaker, is the economic and social impact of this particular bill, Honorable Speaker. By empowering the local communities, the bill positioned to significantly benefit rural communities. And this is done by strengthening local cooperatives, thus contributing to job creation and economic empowerment at the grassroots, Honorable Speaker. And the long-term sustainability is also a very important virtue and factor in this bill. And the provisions in the bill, including the development of a cooperative development fund, aims at ensuring that cooperatives remain economically sustainable and environmentally responsible, Honorable Speaker. In conclusion, Honorable Speaker, as I conclude, Honorable Speaker, it's important to inform members and notify members that the bill is very crucial for sustainable, competitive cooperative sector aligned with the national cooperative policy. And by passing this legislation, Honorable Speaker, the National Assembly will have supported a modern cooperative sector that upholds cooperative principles, strengthens economic inclusion, and fosters unity across Kenya, Honorable Speaker. So in conclusion, Honorable Speaker, I therefore request or wish to request the honorable members to support the bill so that we can have a comprehensive legal framework for promotion, for management, and regulation of cooperatives in Kenya in a devolved governance structure, Honorable Speaker. I therefore, Honorable Speaker, beg to move and ask the substantive leader now who is back in the House, the leader of majority, to second the bill. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Leader of majority.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And let me begin by thanking the Majority Whip for moving this bill on our behalf, and I rise to second. Honorable Speaker, as the Majority Whip has said, maybe even before I say what he has said, let me take this opportunity to thank the Honorable Marianne Ketanyi and the Committee on Trade, Industry and Cooperatives for the immense work they've put. Honorable Speaker, if you look at this bill, it's a bill that has over 168 clauses, Honorable Speaker, notwithstanding the schedule. Therefore, the committee did put in a lot of work to consider all these provisions clause by clause, and they tabled a report in this House yesterday, which I believe, as the Honorable Soro has pointed out, some of the observations the committee that did observe in their consideration of this bill. But it's an important bill, Honorable Speaker, because it is giving effect to Article 186 of our Constitution and Schedule 4 of the 2010 Constitution, Honorable Speaker. I know Article 186 set out the respective functions and powers of both the national and county governments. And you know, Honorable Speaker, the work of oversight of our cooperative societies was vested by the Constitution under Schedule 4 to our county governments. But the national government also has a huge responsibility. And therefore, part of what this bill is doing is to give effect to that, the provisions of the Article 186 and the fourth schedule of the Constitution, to ensure that there is uniformity in the standards and norms of how we register our cooperatives, how they are regulated, how they are supervised, and in the management of all these cooperatives, under a good framework and legal framework that will ensure that our cooperative societies, Honorable Speaker, because they are an important and integral part of the management of our economic affairs, especially from the grassroots, Honorable Speaker. Many of us, even in this House, are cooperators. In fact, this morning, Honorable Speaker, I had the opportunity of a lunch to dash to Kitengela to see part of the good work being done by the Parliamentary Cooperative Society, PACOSO. And I know Bunga Sacco is also doing some good work. But that is a Sacco or a cooperative society by members of Parliament, the lawmakers. And I know many members are also members of cooperative societies back in our villages, whether they are producer cooperative societies, whether they are consumer cooperative societies. Many of us are members, and indeed we are confronted severally by constituents who have issues with the management and the running of their cooperative societies. Honorable Speaker, the members of the Trade and Industry Committee who engage with this bill will tell you that part and parcel of the problems that bedevil the coffee sector today is a poor management of our cooperative society, the coffee sector. And this bill has come now to fix those problems in management and governance of our cooperative societies. But be it as it may be, Honorable Speaker, because county governments with the advent of the 2010 Constitution were charged with the responsibility of registration of some of these cooperatives, many of them have allowed all manner of people to run cooperative societies, register cooperative societies. We have seen people being swindled of their hard earnings by societies that purport to be cooperative societies or SACCOs, and they are not, Honorable Speaker, because they lack a clear framework, a legal framework that would tell us how and who do you register to manage a cooperative society, what governance structures will be there to manage the cooperative societies. This bill is coming to give effect to all those provisions, that the days of Ekeza Sacco will be forgotten, Honorable Speaker. We saw people in Kiambu and across the country being conned by someone calling himself a bishop, and he would use a church to mobilize people to join a Sacco called Ekeza, and eventually took off with their money. It was being sold as a saving society. At one point, it was a housing cooperative, it was a land buying cooperative. This bill, Honorable Speaker, now is categorizing the 4 tiers of cooperative societies that will be there, and who will license, who will register, how will they be managed. It's not just anybody who has a collar and calls himself a bishop, who will now mobilize church people and tell them this is a cooperative for the church. There must be a legal framework that will stipulate how you register that cooperative, how it will be managed, and the governance structures that must be adhered to. And you have 4 tiers of cooperative societies, being primary cooperatives, secondary cooperatives, the cooperative federations, because again we've seen a number of cooperatives coming together and forming a federation, and purporting is a federation of cooperatives. And again, taking off at some point, the small cooperatives, officials of small cooperatives come together, they form a purported confederation of cooperatives, and the officials now swindle from the primary cooperatives. Now it will not be possible to do that, Honorable Speaker, if and when this bill becomes an act of parliament and the law becomes operational. Then we have apex cooperatives, and the bill goes into length, and the members will be able to see, and Kenyans will be able to read the contents of this bill and be able to see how are they categorized, who can be a member of a primary cooperative, who can join as a secondary cooperative, who are the membership, or what is the membership of cooperative federations, and even the apex cooperative societies. Honorable Speaker, the bill also creates offices, the Office of the Commissioner for Cooperative Development at the national level, but also provides, Honorable Speaker, for offices at the county level. And this is clear, Honorable Speaker, now in this proposed legislation, because in the past it was not clear whether the Commissioner of Cooperatives is the one supervising the cooperatives right at the county level, or if it is a cooperative officers who are seconded from the defunct Ministry of Cooperatives, Honorable Speaker, who are seconded to our county governments, and many of them are not even resourced by our county governors, and therefore they lack the capacity even to be able to train cooperators on how to run their SACCOs, and whether they are even able to supervise whether these cooperatives, Honorable Speaker, are adhering to the law as it were before. Honorable Speaker, I was saying part 4 of this bill also provides for the registration of cooperatives that I spoke to, and it includes the procedure for registration, restriction of registration of cooperatives within the same common bond, and limitation on names of cooperatives. And this, Honorable Speaker, is critical. We have seen, for instance, the Parliamentarians Cooperative Society, PACOSO, is the acronym for PACOSO. And at times you do your check, and instead of writing Parliamentarians Cooperative Society, you draw the check in favor of PACOSO. An ingenious person registers PACOSO Cooperative or PACOSO Society. And they steal checks belonging to the Parliamentarians Cooperative Society, and they are banked in PACOSO Society, Honorable Speaker. And we have seen that. And many Kenyans have been swindled, and many cooperative societies have been swindled through such ingenuity of criminal elements. Therefore, there will be limitation even on the names that you can register. You cannot be allowed to register a name that is strikingly similar to another name. And this is the sort of regulation, Honorable Speaker, that happens in the banking sector and even in the insurance industry. And it is that sort of very prudent financial management that is now being brought into the cooperative sector, because even the cooperative movement in this country is dealing with people's finances. And therefore, there must be stringent regulations in terms of registration, how you restrict who can register. It cannot be that any other person can wake up any day and form a cooperative society, collect money from people in terms of deposits, then 3 months down the line, you disappear with people's deposits, Honorable Speaker. That will now not be possible under this new law. Honorable Speaker, we have also seen the mushrooming of what were called land buying companies, land buying cooperatives, and people come together and form land buying societies, and they collect money, go and buy land in some far-flung corner where land is valueless. Honorable Speaker, and I know I see some people smiling who have been victims of some of these swindlers. Because people go and buy land that is often overpriced. Honorable Speaker, this bill provides very stringent measures as to how those who are registering housing cooperatives, how you will manage people's societies. If you are registering a cooperative, Honorable Speaker, as a land buying cooperative, then there are stringent measures as to how you will do that. Because there will not just be the categorization, as I said, of primary, secondary, and cooperative federations and apex cooperatives, but also breaking down the cooperatives into the manner of cooperatives that you can register, right from consumer cooperatives, Honorable Speaker. You have producer cooperatives, you have housing cooperatives, you have savings and credit cooperatives. Then there are also savings and investment cooperatives. Because in the past, savings and credit cooperatives, which are the SACCOs, then savings and investments, like those of us who are members of Safaricom SACCO and other SACCOs, and others like myself who are members of Muhasibu SACCO, that because they are professionally managed, they have an investment arm that deals, if, for instance, it is land buying and housing development. Many of the very well professionally managed cooperatives have their investment arms. It's now possible even to register a cooperative under this law as a savings and investment cooperative. If you want to deal with just savings and credit, then you can have that. If you are in housing, there are housing cooperatives, there are producer cooperatives, for instance, for our farmers in the coffee and tea sectors that are producing, transport cooperatives, Honorable Speaker, in the matatu sector, border sector, and tuk-tuk that has become very famous now across the country. I saw in Kitengela today a whole street full of tuk-tuks. And we want to organize those tuk-tuk owners to join cooperatives so that they are able to manage their societies better. Also, consumer cooperatives, Honorable Speaker, it's important to have consumers form their own cooperatives to be able to access cheaper commodities from producers. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, I do not want to belabor a lot of the things that the mover of the motion, the Honorable Majority Whip, has stipulated. But, Honorable Speaker, allow me to mention, if you look at the rights and liabilities of members under Part 5 of the bill, and actually Clause 45 of this bill, it says that a member other than a cooperative shall not hold more than 1/5 of the paid-up share capital of any cooperative registered in Kenya. Honorable Speaker, this, to me, when I went through this bill, was a very important element of this bill. Because, Honorable Speaker, we've also seen people, individuals, who form cooperative societies and they contribute their own capital. They probably own 30, 40% of the paid-up capital or the share capital of that cooperative. Then they invite other people to own about 60%. But the 60% own probably one share, but the majority share capital holder becomes like a majority shareholder in a company. And that is not the essence of a cooperative movement. A cooperative movement, cooperators are supposed to be equal, to have equal votes when they are voting. And therefore, we've seen instances where people are able to micromanage the management and governance structures within a cooperative society because of the level of shareholding that they have in terms of the share, paid-up share capital. It will now not be possible to hold more than 1/5 of the paid-up share capital of any cooperative society. If a cooperative society has 100,000 Kenya shillings paid-up share capital, then 1/5 of that is 20,000 shares. You cannot hold more than that. Therefore, even those of us who are old members in this House, Honorable Speaker, who are members of Bunge Sacco and Pakoso, we must be careful. And now, Mr. Muita, who manages our Pakoso Sacco, must ensure that even yourself, Honorable Speaker, who has been in this House for quite some time, you do not subscribe to more share capital that beyond 1/5. And if that happens, they will be given time to rectify, and therefore you can allow either you increase the paid-up share capital of those cooperative societies or convert part of that paid-up share capital into member deposits so that no single member holds more than that. And that is the same spirit, Honorable Speaker. In the insurance industry, in the banking sector, people are not allowed to hold beyond, I think, 20 or 25% shareholding in banks and our insurance companies to ensure that there is proper governance within the finance sector. And as I said, the cooperative movement is also part of our very critical finance sector in this country. And therefore, there is need for that restriction. With those few remarks, can I second?
Yeah, go ahead.
Allow me to second, and I therefore beg to second and plead with members to support this bill and have it become law, because the realization of this bill into law will in a very big way sort out the myriad of problems that bedevil our transport sector, and more importantly for me, the coffee sector, because we are going to be considering, without anticipating debate, the Committee of the Whole House on the coffee bill tomorrow afternoon, and it will be very good if these two bills, the coffee bill and this cooperative bill, become a reality before the end of this year and they become acts of parliament to help us in the governance of our cooperative movements and our producers, not just in the tea, coffee, but also in the milk sector. And I believe even fishermen from Honorable Oundo's constituency in Funyula are cooperators, and they need this bill to become an act of parliament for them to be able to govern their fishing cooperative societies better. I beg to second.
Ordinarily, I should have said even the camel herders and the camel businessmen can create their own. Honorable members, I now propose the question that the Cooperatives Bill, National Assembly Bill number 7 of 2024, be now read a second time. The Honorable Gichimu Girinji.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. Let me say that I'm one of the members of the Trade, Industry and Cooperatives Committee who have really worked very, very hard to bring this bill to this level. Actually, it's one of the biggest, or actually the most voluminous bills that we have in this House, having 168 clauses and 3 detailed schedules. And this is all done and sponsored. This is a bill that is government sponsored, and that shows that this government is very keen in addressing the issues that have bedeviled the cooperative sector in this country. And let me first of all start by thanking the members of the committee, because we've had to sit even long hours, very, very many meetings, going close by close, and also considering the numerous submissions that have been given or submitted by members of the public during the public participation that we did across the country. We divided ourselves into various groups, and I led one of the groups that went to Mount Kenya, and the response by the cooperators was very encouraging, and they really need this law like yesterday. And I also thank the team from the ministry led by PS Kelemi, and of course the CS who also came in, also joined, and they used even to attend our meetings during the consideration of this this bill. And that shows the commitment that this government has given into addressing the issues of cooperators in this country. And I'm also excited because my farmers from Geshogo, coffee farmers, will benefit a lot from this bill, because those issues of governance of cooperative societies and many other cooperative societies, including dairy cooperative societies, or will now be addressed by this bill. And Honorable Speaker, now going into the meat, let me say that this bill asserts the supremacy of the members of the cooperatives during the general meeting as the supreme authority of a cooperative in making decisions. And it also addresses the issues of whereby cooperatives have been sometimes operating even without a registered office. Briefcase cooperatives will be a thing of the past once we pass this, because this bill requires that there must be a registered office whereby members can access their books of accounts. They can be able to access all the details pertaining a cooperative society. So that will actually, it's a very, very progressive matter. And looking at the Cooperative Act that is being repealed, this Cooperative Act was enacted in 1997, 27 years ago. And we are living in a very dynamic economic situation, and not every other person is straight in this space. And that is why this bill, when it talks about that proper books of accounts must be kept according to international standards, that also will require cooperative societies to employ professionals to be able to run their affairs as CEOs and other staff who will be running this cooperative society. So those books of accounts, the law that we are making also demands that they should be audited annually according to, again, international standards. That is a space that most of the cooperative societies have been failing, because some have been taken like individual or personal cooperative societies. And another issue that will be addressed is on matters taking loans. This bill requires that any decision by a cooperative society to take any loan must be approved by the members at a general meeting. We have seen so many cooperative societies collapse by just taking loans haphazardly without even consulting the membership, or even giving out loans to people that might not even be members of the cooperative society, or even taking any amount of the loans, especially the leadership of these cooperative societies. And that makes most of the cooperative societies to collapse. And also, we, as a committee, we also looked at the issue of the tribunal, which is also being addressed by this bill. And it is our feeling, and I believe members will also support us, that this tribunal should be, the membership should be increased to 9, so that this tribunal can have a quorum of 3 and can split into 3 and move across the country and address all the issues that have been, the issues or the issues that, or the cases that may come across and in a very effective and a very fast manner, so that cooperators will not be waiting for their cases, and some of the cases are very small. So we want to make it as easy as possible for the disputes that will arise out of in the cooperative movement to be sorted very easily. And in this case, we have proposed that the chairman should be deputized by 2 deputies, so that a chair can head one quorum, another deputy can head another one, and the other one can head another, because there is a requirement that both the chair and the deputy should be lawyers. So how else can we achieve this? So this is a proposal that we will be seeking without anticipating debate during the committee of the whole for the House to agree with us and support. So, Chair, Honorable Speaker, since a lot has already been explained by the mover and also the seconder, I don't want, let me also allow as many members who are around to be able to contribute by posing at that point, but there's a lot and a lot for the cooperators of this country to benefit out of this bill. And let me defray or say that this House has been committed about this bill. There have been outbursts out there that the House, the leadership, and the government is not committed. This is an assertion that this House, the government at large, is committed to sort out all the issues of the cooperators in this country, and we will do it for the benefit of our people and for the progress of the cooperative movement in this country. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Before I give the Honorable Kaitani, I would want to give an opportunity to the Deputy Speaker to contribute on that. Honorable Mary Kaitani, you take a pause a little bit, and you're next, undoubtedly. Being the chair of the committee, but let's allow our Deputy Speaker.
Okay. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity. First, I want to thank the Committee on Cooperative Trade for the immense work they have done together with the ministry in making sure that we get this law. This law is extremely important. And yes, this law has covered many of the areas that are a challenge, challenges of governance, challenges of management, challenges of naming, and all the loopholes that existed in the cooperative sector. But even as we do this, I will definitely be bringing in amendments to this bill. Some of the amendments will be to undertake a complete vetting of all the county commissioners of cooperatives across the country and all the ministry staff that have been dealing with cooperatives. Because as we talk about the problem we have had before, where there was mismanagement of cooperatives, there was lack of transparency, there was loss of public money, it could not have been possible without the collusion of those crooks in the cooperative sector. If they were colluding with the ministry officials. And this is a fact. So even if we change the law and we don't change those corrupt officials in the Ministry of Cooperatives, nothing is going to change. And I can say this without fear of contradiction. We had a crisis in the last 3-4 years in Uasin Gishu County with the Keyo Housing Cooperative, where a bunch of 4 persons decided that they had the power to even alienate the building that belonged to Keyo Cooperative Housing.